I came home from the hospital, exhausted, sore, and desperate to sleep in my own bed again. But the moment I reached my bedroom door, the handle wouldn't turn. At first, I thought the lock was broken. Then I heard movement inside the room, followed by my grandson's voice asking, "Is Grandma back already?" I just stood there in the hallway, holding my overnight bag, still wearing that thin hospital bracelet around my wrist. My legs were weak from the infection they'd kept me there for 5 days treating, and all I wanted was my own pillow and silence. But instead, I heard whispering behind my bedroom door. Then my daughter-in-law, Karen, said quietly, "Just stay in here a minute." Like I was the one interrupting something, I knocked harder. "Why is my bedroom locked?" A few seconds passed before the door finally opened halfway. My grandson Tyler peeked out first. He was 16 now, taller than me already, and he wouldn't look me in the eye. Behind him, Karen stood near my dresser with one of my jewelry boxes open on the bed. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "What's going on?" I asked. Karen smiled too quickly. "Oh, don't get upset, Gloria. We were just trying to organize things while you were gone." Organize things. My bedroom looked wrong immediately. Drawers half open, my closet doors wide open. 2 trash bags sitting near the window. My late husband's flannel shirts folded into piles on the floor like somebody had already decided what stayed and what went. I stared at the bags. "Why are my things in garbage bags?" Karen crossed her arms. "Honestly, this room was becoming unsafe. We talked about it while you were in the hospital." "We?" She sighed like I was difficult. "Me and Michael, my son." Something in me cracked a little right there. Michael finally came upstairs after hearing voices. He looked tired, nervous too, but not surprised. That hurt worse than anything. "Mom," he said quietly, "don't make this harder than it needs to be." I remember just blinking at him because I truly didn't understand what he was saying. Harder than what? Then Karen spoke again, calm as could be. "We moved Tyler into this room." I laughed at first because it sounded insane. "This is my bedroom." "Well, technically," she said, "the house is in Michael's name now." The hallway went completely silent. I looked at my son so fast my neck hurt. "What does that mean?" Michael rubbed his face. "Mom, when you had the pneumonia scare last winter, you signed some paperwork, remember? We refinanced to help with the medical bills." "No," I said immediately. "I signed hospital forms." Karen gave this little smile I still think about at night sometimes. "You signed more than that." I walked past them to my nightstand and started pulling through drawers with shaking hands. Half my paperwork was missing. Bank folders gone, house documents gone. Even Gerald's old lockbox key was missing from the ceramic dish, where I always kept it. My chest started tightening again. The same awful pressure that sent me to the hospital in the first place. Michael lowered his voice. "Mom, sit down before you work yourself up." But then Tyler said something from behind me that made the whole room feel ugly. "Dad said Grandma probably won't be living upstairs much longer anyway." I turned around slowly. Tyler's face went pale immediately. He knew he wasn't supposed to say it out loud. Karen looked furious at him. And suddenly I realized something sitting there in the middle of my own bedroom with strangers touching my dead husband's clothes. This hadn't started while I was in the hospital. They'd been planning this for a long time. I didn't sleep that first night home. Karen said I was being emotional, and suggested I take the downstairs guest room temporarily. That room used to be Gerald's workshop before they cleared it out after he died. No windows except one little basement thing near the ceiling. Smelled like dust and laundry detergent. They'd already moved half my bedroom furniture around by then. I sat on that narrow guest bed listening to footsteps above me. My footsteps in my room. And I felt something I hadn't felt since Gerald's funeral. Alone. Around midnight, I heard Karen laughing upstairs. Then Michael. Then Tyler's heavy footsteps crossing my bedroom floor. My floor. I cried quietly into the pillow so nobody would hear me. The next morning, Karen acted cheerful like none of it was strange. She made coffee and talked about school schedules while I sat at the kitchen table still weak from the hospital. Then she slid a paper toward me. "We should probably discuss assisted living options before winter," she said casually. I looked down at the brochure. Sunny Hills Senior Community. My hands started shaking so badly the paper rattled. Michael wouldn't look at me. "I'm not going to assisted living," I said. Karen kept stirring her coffee. "Gloria, be realistic. You fell twice this year. You left the stove on in April. I turned the wrong burner on one time. You also got lost driving to church. That detour was from road construction. Everything suddenly became evidence. Every small old person mistake. Every tired moment. Every doctor visit. They'd been collecting them like ammunition." Michael finally spoke. "Mom, we're worried about you." I stared at him. "Then why did you take my bedroom while I was in the hospital?" Silence. Karen answered instead. "Tyler needs stability. He's preparing for college." I almost laughed at the cruelty of it. "So, the old woman goes in the basement?" Karen's face tightened. Nobody said that. But they had. Just not directly. That afternoon, I waited until they left to pick Tyler up from practice. Then I went upstairs slowly, one painful step at a time. My bedroom door was unlocked now. The room barely looked like mine anymore. Tyler's gaming system sat where Gerald's reading chair used to be. My framed wedding photo was face down on the dresser. Face down. That broke something in me worse than the hospital ever did. I picked it up carefully. Gerald smiling in that old gray suit he loved. Me beside him at 23 with dark hair and hope all over my face. 47 years together. And now my grandson slept beside our wedding picture like it was clutter. I opened the closet looking for the missing lockbox key. That's when I noticed the small fireproof safe on the top shelf was gone completely. Gone. I nearly lost my balance. Inside that safe were the original deed papers Gerald kept, life insurance records, bank information, and cash. About $11,000 Gerald hid away over the years because he never trusted banks completely after his father lost everything. My breathing turned shallow. I went downstairs and checked the desk drawer where I kept my checkbooks. Empty. Every single one. That's when I heard Karen's voice behind me. "You shouldn't be snooping through things right now." I turned around slowly. She stood in the kitchen doorway holding grocery bags, watching me like I was a problem she was tired of managing. "Where's my safe?" Her expression didn't change at all. Michael always said she had the coldest face he'd ever seen when she wanted something. "It's being secured," she said. "By who?" "Your son." "That safe belongs to me." Karen set the groceries down carefully. "Legally, we're not completely sure anymore." I felt physically sick. "What did you do?" She crossed her arms. "You really should have read what you signed last winter." Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Honestly, Gloria, If you fight this, things are going to get very uncomfortable for you. I didn't answer Karen right away. I just stood there gripping the edge of the kitchen counter because suddenly I understood why Michael couldn't look at me anymore, why Tyler had said I might not be living upstairs much longer, why my paperwork disappeared the second I got home. This wasn't concern, it was preparation. Karen walked past me calmly, putting groceries away like we just discussed the weather. You should really think about what's easiest for everyone, she said. The house is too much responsibility now. I looked at her. This house was mine before you even met my son. She shut the refrigerator harder than necessary. And now Michael is trying to protect the family. Protect the family. From me. That evening, I waited until Michael came home alone. Karen took Tyler to some school event, and for once the house was quiet. My son sat across from me at the kitchen table where I'd fed him every night growing up. Same table where he did homework while Gerald helped him study spelling words. Same table where he cried after his first heartbreak at 17. Now he looked at me like I was paperwork. Tell me the truth, I said softly. Did you transfer this house into your name? Michael rubbed both hands over his face. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. That wasn't an answer. Michael. He finally looked up, eyes red already. Karen found a lawyer after your hospital stay last winter. They said if something happened to you suddenly, probate could take forever. The medical bills scared us. Medical bills I paid myself. We were trying to help. I leaned back slowly. Did you forge something? His silence answered faster than words could. I felt cold all over. My own son. Mom, please. You forged documents? No, he snapped suddenly. You signed them? I stared at him. What? You signed them at the rehab center after your fall. Karen brought the paperwork. You said you trusted us. Pieces started coming back then. Pain medication, blurry afternoons, Karen sitting beside my hospital bed with stacks of papers clipped together, Michael saying they were insurance forms, temporary authorizations, things to help manage bills while I recovered. I remembered signing because my hands were shaking and I was exhausted, and I trusted my son. God help me. I trusted my son. Michael's voice cracked. We didn't think things would get this bad financially. There it was. Finally. Truth. How bad? He stared down at the table. Karen and I owe almost $90,000 in debt. I couldn't even speak. The business failed after the pandemic. Credit cards, a second mortgage, Tyler's tuition. He swallowed hard. We thought if the house was under my name, we could refinance again. This house was paid off. I know. I closed my eyes because suddenly I could hear Gerald's voice from years ago warning me quietly in our bedroom. Don't sign things without reading them, Gloria. Even with family, I should have listened. Then Michael said the part that hurt worst of all. At first, Karen just wanted access to the equity. At first? His eyes filled with tears. She found out about the life insurance money, too. I froze. Only Gerald and I knew about that account. 22 years earlier, after his heart surgery scare, Gerald opened a private savings account with nearly everything extra we had. He called it protection money. Said if one of us ever got sick or vulnerable, the other would never become dependent on anybody. Almost $300,000. Karen found it. Where is it? I whispered. Michael looked physically sick now. She moved most of it already. The room started spinning. She what? She said legally it was safer if we controlled the accounts before. He stopped himself too late. Before what? He couldn't answer. I stood up so fast the chair scraped hard against the floor. Before I died. At that exact moment, the front door opened. Karen walked in carrying Tyler's jacket over one arm. She stopped cold when she saw our faces. Then she looked directly at Michael and quietly said, "You told her." Karen set Tyler's jacket down very carefully on the counter. The whole kitchen went silent except for the refrigerator humming behind us. Michael looked terrified. Karen just looked angry, not nervous, not ashamed. Angry. "I told her enough," Michael said weakly. Karen laughed once under her breath. "Enough to what? Scare her into calling a lawyer?" I stared at her. "You moved my husband's money." She took off her coat slowly. "The money was sitting untouched while this family was drowning. It wasn't yours. It's Michael's inheritance eventually." "Eventually," I snapped. "After I'm dead." Tyler stood frozen near the doorway, listening to every word. Karen noticed him first. "Go upstairs." "But now." He disappeared immediately. Then she turned back to me, and something changed in her face. The polite mask finally slipped completely. "You want the truth, Gloria," she said. "Fine, we were desperate." Michael whispered, "Karen, no, I'm done pretending." She pointed toward the ceiling. "Do you know how humiliating it is raising a teenager while pretending everything's fine? Collection calls every day, creditors threatening lawsuits, Michael's salary barely covering interest payments." I looked at my son. "You told me you were doing well." "We were trying not to worry you," he said quietly. Karen barked out a laugh. "Please, we didn't tell you because we knew you'd never hand over control willingly." Control? That word stayed with me. Not help, not support. Control. I looked directly at Michael. "How much did you take?" His face collapsed. Karen answered for him. 218,000. I physically staggered backward. That account represented almost my entire safety net. Gerald worked overtime for years building it. Missed vacations, drove old cars, saved every extra dollar, and they stole it while I was drugged and recovering. My own son started crying then, actual tears running down his face. "I was going to put it back," he whispered. Karen turned on him instantly. "Oh my God, stop acting like a victim." I saw it then. Really saw it. Michael wasn't running this. Karen was. Every missing paper, every pushed conversation about assisted living, every document, every move upstairs into my bedroom, her. Then she said the sentence that finally exposed everything. The memory evaluations already started anyway. I went completely still. "What evaluations?" Nobody spoke. I looked at Michael again, and this time he couldn't even meet my eyes. Karen folded her arms. "After your fall last winter, we documented several cognitive concerns." Documented? Like I was some patient file. "You told doctors I was confused," Michael whispered. "Mom." My voice cracked so hard it barely sounded like mine anymore. "You told people I'm losing my mind?" Karen stepped closer like she was explaining something reasonable to a child. "We had to establish a pattern. Otherwise, conservatorship would have been impossible. I think part of me left my body for a second. Conservatorship. They weren't planning assisted living. They were planning ownership of my house, my money, my medical decisions, my life." I remembered suddenly why certain nurses at the rehab center spoke to me slowly. Why one doctor kept asking if I knew what year it was. Why Karen answered questions directed at me before I could speak. They were building a case. "Oh my God," I whispered. Michael broke completely then. "I didn't know she filed the papers already." Karen whipped around at him. "You idiot." Filed papers. I grabbed the kitchen chair because my knees nearly gave out. "What papers?" Karen's silence told me before Michael did. "The hearing's next month," he said, crying openly now. "Temporary emergency guardianship." I looked at both of them standing in my kitchen, my dead husband's kitchen, and suddenly every strange thing from the past year locked together perfectly. The missing documents, the medication confusion, the sudden concern about my memory, my bedroom being taken before I was even fully home from the hospital. They already expected to win. Then Karen said quietly, cold as ice, "You really should have stayed in the hospital longer." I don't remember deciding to leave the kitchen. 1 second, I was standing there staring at Karen. The next, I was upstairs inside my bedroom, shutting the door behind me with shaking hands, while Tyler watched silently from the hallway. Even he looked scared now. Good, he should have been. I sat on the edge of the bed beside Gerald's old photograph and tried to breathe through the panic rising in my chest. Conservatorship, guardianship, court hearings. My own son had helped build a legal case saying I was incompetent, and they almost pulled it off. Then I remembered something Karen didn't know. Gerald never trusted paper trails completely. After his brother lost property during a lawsuit back in the 80s, Gerald started hiding copies of important records in strange places. "If people get desperate," he used to say, "they'll search the obvious spots first." I stood up slowly and walked to the hallway linen closet. Third shelf, behind old towels, exactly where Gerald left it 20 years ago. A small brown lockbox, still there. My hands shook opening it. Inside were copies of everything: original house deed, bank statements, insurance records, and one thing that made my stomach drop completely: a signed letter from Gerald dated 11 years earlier. "If Gloria is ever declared mentally incompetent, I request independent medical review outside immediate family involvement due to concerns about financial coercion." I started crying right there in the hallway. Gerald knew. Some part of him always knew greed could poison people. Downstairs, I heard Karen yelling at Michael again. Then I heard my grandson's voice, quiet at first, then louder. "You said Grandma agreed to all this." Silence. "You lied to me?" Karen snapped back immediately. "Stay out of adult business." "No," Tyler said, voice shaking now. "You told me Grandma wanted the downstairs room because she was getting confused." I closed my eyes. Even Tyler, they manipulated their own son too. Then I heard something crash downstairs. A chair maybe, Michael shouting, Karen shouting louder, and suddenly Tyler came running upstairs pale as a ghost. "Grandma," he whispered. "Dad told Mom he's calling the court tomorrow to stop the hearing." For the first time in days, I felt air enter my lungs fully. But Tyler looked terrified. "She said if he ruins this, we lose the house." Downstairs, Karen screamed something so loud I couldn't make out the words. Then Michael yelled back, "She's my mother." Silence hit the house hard after that. A few seconds later, Karen's footsteps started toward the stairs. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Tyler backed away from the bedroom door, and then Karen appeared in the hallway, holding my hospital medication bottle in her hand. The bottle I'd been taking every night since discharge. She looked directly at me. Then she said quietly, "You know, if they test those pills, Michael's going to find out they were never prescribed at that dosage." Some stories end quietly. but the damage stays with people for years. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment below and subscribe for more real emotional stories like this one.